so excited to kick off our Priceless Conversation series presented by Mastercard. Over the next 4 weeks, we'll be getting together for thoughtful, honest, and socially distant conversations about everything from how to foster an inclusive small business community to how to budget and rebuild a business in a post-COVID world. Along the way, we'll also be joined by fellow small business owners and industry experts who will share their insight and knowledge on inclusivity, profitability, and so much more. In each episode, we'll also be answering questions from listeners to help them tackle specific issues and problems that they're facing during this time. Deepica, Mutyala, founder and CEO, Live Tinted, and Arian, Simone, general partner, co-founder, and investor, Fearless Fund. Hello, ladies. If there's one word we've heard over and over again this year, it's pivot. When e-commerce sales rose by over 92% in May, it was clear early on that small businesses would need to take a digital-first approach in order to weather the pandemic. In fact, in the US, e-commerce in April and May made up 22% of all retail sales, up from 11% in 2019. Another way to put it, more money was spent online in the US during those 2 months than the last 12 Cyber Mondays combined. 6 months later, with brick and mortar locations still temporarily closed and in-person events continuing to be canceled or postponed, it's just as important as ever for small businesses to develop and maintain a strong digital presence. For a thoughtful discussion on how small businesses can pivot to digital during COVID and beyond, I'm so excited to be joined by a panel of powerhouse entrepreneurs and experts who are skillfully navigating this increasingly virtual future. So without further ado, please welcome my co-hosts. Today, we're talking all about pivoting to digital. And I'm so excited because we have North American small business lead at Mastercard, Ginger Siegel, and serial entrepreneur, Michelle Cadore, joining us. So welcome, Ginger and Michelle. Okay, so there is so much for us to talk about, so let's just dive right in. Let's start with COVID. So COVID hasn't spared any industry really, by disrupting supply chains, canceling events, clearing out shops, restaurants, fitness studios, you name it. The coronavirus impacts all small businesses, particularly startups like ours that don't have the resources of a Fortune 500 company. It's very significant for all of us. So I'm just gonna throw it to the entire room, but what digital tactics and strategies have you put into place to ensure your business is successful through this trying time? Arian, do you wanna go first?
Oh my gosh.
No pressure.
Where to begin?
Yes, COVID definitely took everybody by storm, and those of us who do event activations, we all had to go virtual. So we had to think of different ways for our brand partners to be able to communicate our messages that were not limited to the physical events. So yeah, I would say from virtual events, I think we've all been on 1,000 Zoom calls per day.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think that, we've gotten used to the whole work from home flow. So I would definitely say from the Zoom calls to anything virtual. Yeah. Everything has had to convert in that way, but it's been a beautiful pivot, to be truthful with you.
It's given us time to reflect on the things that we probably wanted to do but didn't have time to do. But Deepica, for product business, how did that affect you?
So we're solely direct to consumer, and so I didn't have as much of the retail situations that a lot of other businesses have had. But for us, our manufacturers were shut down. So they're New York based, and so we sold out of our product and we couldn't get it back in stock. And so that's the whole business. So what do you do then? And so we had to pivot, and instead of having a physical beauty product, we really lean into the fact, like you just said, why did I start this business in the first place? What was it about? And it was about community. So we threw it out to them and straight up asked them, what is it that you want to see more of? And it was more human content, and we created a merch line. And I think you just have to pivot and get creative during this time. I mean, our manufacturer shut down. I was like, cool, that's the whole business. There goes the entire Q2 sales goals.
And you don't know when it's restarting, so
Right.
So it's been really challenging. So Michelle, I'm actually gonna ask you this question. So can you take us through some of the specific challenges you've faced and how you've pivoted during COVID-19?
Sure. So my store is actually a brick and mortar, and 90% of our traffic comes from in-person sales, and we're in a high traffic mall. So it was a stark difference when COVID hit, and I had just transitioned into full-time entrepreneurship. So it was a major shock to the system, but we had to be quick, and we transitioned to our e-commerce. We put a lot of effort behind our social media marketing, and we made sure to revamp our website, and we started building partnerships, and I'll talk about that more, but we really had to be in front of our customer online. And I think it's definitely a blessing and a good reminder for all of us who have small businesses that are brick and mortars, to not forget about the e-commerce world, because you literally have your customers at your fingertips. So we were, ready to go, and it actually made a huge difference for us.
Absolutely. And so when it comes to things like COVID-19, how do you see the silver lining as an entrepreneur? And how do you motivate your team during this time? Because I think all of us were sort of taken by storm when this came on. So what advice do you have for entrepreneurs who are grappling with this?
It's exactly what you said about it. It allowed me to focus on parts of the business that I didn't really zoom in on. I realized there was so much of my time going towards travel, events, networking opportunities, and all of these things. And I'm like, now that that's not even an option, I'm like, wow, I have a built-in 20 extra hours a week. What the hell can I do with this? And it really made me recognize where, in terms of hiring, which again, as a startup, and it's really interesting because, most people are downsizing and hiring, but what I ended up doing was, of course, it really made me look at the hires we had and who was necessary for the business versus what's the missing holes in the business. And I kind of went from the mentality of generalist versus specialist, what makes most sense for the business right now. And I truly think I was just go, go, go before, that I wasn't really analyzing it to that degree.
You didn't have time.
Zero time.
You're moving so fast as a startup. It's so true.
Right.
Arian?
I would definitely agree. This period has given us so much clarity. When you said, how do we look at the silver lining? I believe that all adversity brings about opportunity. I run a venture capitalist firm, and in our space, we pretty much would do all of our pitches in person. Now they're virtual. We've all had the luxury to see where we can reduce the overhead.
Yes.
I guess you would say that. I know, Deepica, you being in the product business, it more so hit the supply chain. But the retail business is still booming, like online retail. It's still just soaring. So I think everybody's had the time to just truly analyze, okay, where are our weak spots and how do you strengthen them? Because it's not even just about COVID, it's about the future of work in its
100%.
entirety.
Yeah.
What does work look like 20 years from now? I think COVID just put us all in an awareness of how we're going to prepare for that.
It was a fast forward for sure.
So that's definitely the silver lining.
Definitely. So Ginger, are there any tools and resources you can recommend for anyone tuning in today as a small business owner?
Yeah, thanks, Jaclyn. I mean, I think to the points that were just made, we're seeing that e-commerce has increased about 202% in the last year. And the scary number is that about 30% of small businesses do not have any online presence. And the 70% that do, there's really a strong need to optimize. And we know that being able to pivot to digital channels is really critically important, no matter what you sell, product or service. So we've really rolled out something called Digital Doors, which completely helps small businesses in terms of diagnosing where they are from a digital perspective, helping them get online through partnerships that we have with Shopify, BigCommerce, Squarespace, Hello Alice, providing digital curriculum. I think education is really important during this time. And also something called shop openings, whereby a business can actually be seen by a consumer on a website so that consumer can understand, is that business open, and if they accept contactless payments. And then the other big piece, which I think we're going to get into, is cyber protection. And so we wrap all of this into cyber protection because we know that small businesses are getting hit over 50% of all attacks now. So we really believe that helping small businesses pivot to digital is going to be critical in this time.
Absolutely, and that's a great segue into our next topic, which is digital marketing. So having a strong online presence is essential for small businesses to engage with their consumers digitally during this time. Media consumption in the US was already at a historical high before COVID-19. Americans were consuming upwards of 12 hours of content a day. That number is now up to a staggering 60%. It's crazy. So everyone's online, everyone's on their phone. To your point, Ginger, e-com is all the way up. So I'm gonna throw this out to everyone, but Deepica, maybe we'll start with you. What digital marketing channels are you currently focusing on? Is it email marketing, social media marketing, content marketing? What is Live Tinted focused on?
Absolutely, social marketing. We're at a place now where we're experimenting beyond social, but we started as a social channel. So when you really have to pick and choose during times like COVID, again, it really made us laser focus in on what was working for us. And like you mentioned, our issue was supply, not demand. Online sales are going up, and I feel really like, it's so funny because it's like when we started the business, there was a lot of pressure to go into a retailer, go big or go home, and retailer was considered going big. And I feel so grateful that I listened to my gut and felt like we needed to really control the narrative and stick to being an online business first, because technically we didn't get as hit as much we could have potentially if we were in a retailer. So that goes back to the idea of like, we started as a social community, and let's zoom in and focus in on our social community. So that's really just been our focus.
Absolutely. And have you been running like ads? Have you been doing more pay to play opportunities?
You know what's really cool is it's only 10% of our business is paid marketing, because what we're really doing is focusing more on the organic side and trying to build out an ambassador program. And again, that's something that I've been wanting to do since day one, but when was the time? And so instead of the unpredictability of the Facebook ad world and just all the performance marketing, I think the future is in really understanding your customer and really focusing on organic growth.
Absolutely. And Michelle, what about you? Have you been focusing on email marketing or any social channels?
Yes, absolutely. So we focus more on our marketing newsletters. Social media has definitely taken up a big, we've vamped up on our social media. We've also found other ways to expand our offerings by partnering with different online shops. So we partnered with Amazon Afterpay, which allows our customers to be able, new customers to discover us. And Essence has Shop Essence, so we partnered with them as well. So we've been finding different ways to really expand, the boutique and really communicate to our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Afterpay and pay installments is a great opportunity for small business owners right now, given the climate. I think that's such a great and innovative way to kind of engage. And Ginger, what do you think are the most important channels, and what is Digital Doors recommending for small business owners?
Yeah, Jaclyn, it's a great question. And I think some of the comments around social media, what we've heard in our research is that a lot of small businesses want to use different social media, but they don't feel that they have a good handle on the return on investment. And so I think it's really important that as we're thinking about the types of social media, understanding what that impact is going to be is very, very important. I also think, leveraging what kind of a site you have is critically important as well, which is why we're really excited about Digital Doors. But the other thing I think that was brought up was, if you're going to focus on a digital presence, an online shop, if you're going to focus on some of the social media pieces, it's really important for small businesses to be enabled to accept payments. For example, if you can't accept a card on file process, people aren't going to want to keep giving their credit card number over the phone. So I think it's the social media piece. Through Digital Doors, we believe we can help you get set up, but we also believe through the digital diagnostic piece, you can understand if you're actually set up completely end to end. So I think people get bogged down in the social media part, but there's so much more to think about.
Absolutely. Making it as easy as possible to purchase is definitely the way to go. I know I'm a sucker for Apple Pay. Like, I will just double click that side button and I'm a sucker for it. So it's so true. And I know for us at Create and Cultivate, email marketing has been really important to us. So, we have a database of over 600,000 women, that we were just leveraging to talk about our events to. And now we're releasing content and product to those women as well. So email marketing is also super important because you own that audience, truly beyond the social media channel. So Ginger, according to Mastercard research, 75% of consumers around the world are shopping online, the same or more than they were before COVID-19. So what advice can you share for small business owners who need to build a digital presence from scratch right now? Where should they start? And this is important, how much budget do they need?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think right now, a lot of small businesses are struggling. And I think, to Deepica's point, a lot of them are not actually doing it now. And so that need to pivot is really important. I think that with a lot of the capabilities that are out there, so for example, with Digital Doors, what we've tried to do is keep the costs down. But the first thing that you really have to think about is how you want to present yourself. So I think working with some of these partners like a Shopify or BigCommerce who have experience experience and not just designing a site, but making sure that it integrates with your culture, your image, what you're trying to project. And, I think, Jaclyn, you're a great example of this, is create and cultivate. No matter where you look at what medium, you stand out as the way you present yourself always. And I think sometimes people don't understand that your digital presence has to connect to if you have a physical presence or culturally what you are represented at. So I think there's a lot of opportunity with digital doors where you're not really paying initially for some of the cyber protection. That's another very key piece. You can't just go online and expect that you're not going to get increased attacks. So I can't say enough. We saw in this pandemic about 30% of small businesses immediately saw more breaches. So I think it's, if you can get some of these deals that are out there, like with Shopify and BigCommerce, with Mastercard, how we have a lot of these cyber protections for free. Shop opening is free advertising. If you accept a Mastercard, you go on this website. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to utilize social media and some of these other tools so that the budget you have to build doesn't have to be enormous.
Oh, absolutely. And we got to get on that. Shop, create, and cultivate. We got to get on shop opening. That's amazing. Okay, so let's talk about making the shift to e-commerce. So with brick and mortar locations temporarily closed, in-person events postponed, and screen time on the rise due to social distancing, needless to say, e-commerce is on the rise. So in the months of April and May, more money was spent online in the US in the last 12 Cyber Mondays combined.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah.
Insane.
Whoa.
Okay, so what tools and platforms do you guys use to manage your e-commerce side of the business? I'll throw this to Deepica, but I also do want to touch a little bit on Cyber Monday. We're coming up to holiday season and what the sort of strategy is there. So Deepica.
Yeah, we were just having a brainstorm meeting about this because I've been told that brands, instead of having Black Friday and Cyber Monday, are just doing a big month-long sale, which was fascinating to me. And our business model hasn't been dependent on sales. It's been very much about just quality experience, and it hasn't been built into the model. And so we're trying to have really it's all a trial and error for us right now.
Totally.
But I think the thing that keeps coming up into my mind, as Ginger just mentioned everything, was that you want to be where your customer is. And I think for me, it is social. So Instagram checkout is just as integral for us as our Shopify experience on our site. So I think just knowing, again, as a small business, you can't focus on everything, email marketing, social. You want to, but we just can't. And for us, social has been our absolute focus. But from our e-commerce perspective, really making sure our Shopify experience has been optimized, and using the apps, the apps that Shopify offers is kind of a game changer. I had no idea until just going through this in real time, the customer service options there's so many different tools they provide to make the e-commerce experience seamless.
Yeah, especially, as you prepare for a big influx of sales.
Yeah.
I wanted to chime in, only just to offer a more broader lens to it. Being in the venture capital space, we invest in so many businesses, so we see what they're going through. Whereas I would say there's a balance between the organic audience and the paid audience. So for everybody's experience, it's different. Because I know there may be a small business owner that's out there watching, and they're like, oh, but Deepica's got all these hundreds of thousands of followers.
Fair. That's totally fair. Yeah.
And she's got this awesome community. And there's a company we invested in, Hairbrella, and she literally went from making $1,600 a month in June last year. So now she has 6-figure days.
Amazing.
Wow.
And it is literally because she took the time out to lock herself up in her office and teach herself, okay, I need to learn how to run Facebook ads. I need to learn how to run Instagram ads. And I need to be able to succeed at this. And then she's been on from Good Morning America twice this, spring, to The View, to Beyonce put her up on the website. So
I need to take her out for a drink. I need to
For
know
real.
the secret.
it happens for everybody has to hone into what it is in the digital space where they're going to win. That's
100%.
Yeah.
It's so true, and I know certain brands, that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on Facebook and Instagram ads, which you're but they're making $300,000, $400,000 a month, so it's worthwhile.
As long as you're seeing the return, though, that's
exactly
the tricky part.
And that's when you need to know whether to pull back if it's not working, because
Right.
you also don't want to get sunk into a hole
At
where
all.
you're spending, more than you're making. So that's really, really important. So Michelle,
And Jaclyn,
go
I just
ahead.
wanted to add a really quick thing onto what Arian said. I think social media is so critical, but I also think it's important to have a process to manage your customers that you're bringing in. So for example, do you have some kind of a customer system where you're really understanding who those customers are so that you can really build on that organic growth that you're getting from social media, so that when you acquire a new customer for social media, it's not just a one and done, but you're leveraging information tools so that you can go back and cross sell. So I just wanted to double click on her point because it's a really important one.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when it comes to Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all these different things, this year specifically talking about the month-long opportunity, I do think, looking at something and saying, maybe there's a give back component. It doesn't necessarily have to be a discount. I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that, or a lot more innovative ways to kind of get out the word for that. So how important is it to diversify your points of sale, and how do you go about doing it digitally? Michelle, I'll throw that to you. How have you guys been working on your e-com?
Yeah, so for our website, we also use Shopify as a platform, and I've given my customers plenty of options. They can basically purchase with Amazon, Afterpay, Shopify, or ShopPay, Google Pay. As easy as it is for you to not have to take out your wallet and just click and buy, that's what we want our customers to experience. So, I've really been focusing on making it a seamless process. And also, I know it was mentioned about the tools that are available on these platforms. One thing that I've done was added a live chat plugin. So it'll be 2 a.m. and customers will be shopping. I'll see them putting things in their cart and they have a question. I'm already up, ready to answer, make the sale, let's go. So I want to stay connected and make sure that it's very seamless for our customers.
Yeah, the live chat feature is a game changer. We added it to our site, and we're using it not only for our e-com and selling products, but also when people are tuning into events. Like, oh, I didn't get the email, I need to log in. So it's been amazing for us, that real-time feedback. So I was gonna get into customer service, so great segue. So Ginger, what are some ways that people can leverage great customer service to ensure that their customers are happy and returning?
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good question. And I think one of the big questions that we get a lot when we talk to small businesses is, what do we have to do to make sure our customers feel safe, as an example? And I think great customer service is really asking your customers what they need to do more of what you want them to do. So I think this concept of understanding, number one, what customer service is not just about fulfilling orders, but really using, whether you have a contact center, whether you have an email, however you're communicating, really asking people, what is it going to take for you to revisit us? What type of safety measures do you want us to take? Obviously, following the CDC guidelines and all of that, but I think it's really important that customer service also be a part of understanding where their heads are at the certain time, and really putting yourself in their position to understand what you need to do to sell more.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And so let's talk a little bit about reopening. They're starting, in different cities, there's reopening starting to happen, and people are starting to figure out that strategy. And when it comes to reopening, so when it comes to a smooth transition, what do we think is a good opportunity? I know that a few of the small business owners I know have been doing things like a appointment only strategy, which I think could be a really good experience, especially for high-end product, where you can come in and kind of enjoy that. So are you looking at pop-up opportunities? Are you looking at brick and mortar? Is that even of interest to you?
My plan is for 2021, when it's so unpredictable still, to expand into other e-tailers, going from our own website to other e-tailers, and have those conversations now for a 2022 retail moment. Because I just feel like I'm okay with the slower, steady, profitable growth, rather than taking these high risks during a time where it is like very risky. So for me personally, e-tailer 2021 and 2022, doing more of those other experiences. However, a big part of our strategy this past year, pre-COVID, was pop-ups, because Shopify has this it makes it really easy to where you could, just anywhere in the world. I went to London, Canada, we did pop-ups so we can meet with our community that part of it is gone. And so I mean, honestly, you did an incredible experience, right? With like the Uber situation, right?
Yeah. We did a COVID-friendly pop-up in the
Right.
sense that it was all powered by Postmates. There was no entering into a store. It was just being able to buy it through Square Online or through Postmates pickup and delivery. And that was a pivot. You know, we were going to do a traditional pop-up.
Right.
We had rented the space. And so we had this moment of like, are we doing it? Are we not doing it? And we decided to pivot. So I think there are cool ways to do experiential where you're still making a dent and having a cool moment, but you're not necessarily, you know, being, you know, risky in that.
Yeah, I was talking to the team because I want to keep that experience alive, right? Like, even if we just do e-tailer and we are only on our site, how can we create this pop-up where people still feel connected? Because customer service at the end of the day is the business. And so making people feel connected, and I really feel like a value that we have as a company is that we've humanized our brand and the people. And when you talk to us, talking directly to us, like Michelle said, the fact that she is answering at 2 a.m, there is that human connection that you can't beat through any online experience, just going through outsourcing certain parts of your business. And so it's so important to me that we keep that going, and whether it's through Zoom conferences with the community or pop-up in person, we're still brainstorming the way to do it in person, because there's just something there. Like, I'm such a hugger, and we can't hug.
Yeah, you can't replace it. And I think safety is just key.
Yeah.
If it's sold from a very safe place, I think people will feel comfortable.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Michelle, you know, when it comes to your reopening strategy, what are you looking at?
So I actually reopened already.
Amazing.
We were closed. Yeah. So it was really interesting. We were closed for 6 months, and we were able to reopen for phase 2 in New York City, which was around June, but we were only allowed to offer curbside pickup. So what we would do, we would have like the in-person, like appointments for our customers. You know, if someone comes to pick up and they want to look at something else, we'd allow them to do so. Of course, they had to have their mask on, and we had our mask on, and we practiced all the safety measures. Now, since reopening on September 9th, you would be surprised, but people have been coming into our doors like crazy. So our first week, we had like 123 new customers, which was like a blessing, right? So we have everything marked in our store, you know, the social distance markers, we have sanitizers everywhere, but it really was, it's good, but we're also still giving the option for the customers who are afraid of coming in. We're like, you know, we can do an online live stream for you. If you want to see what's in the store, we'll take the phone and we'll go right around the store and you can tell us what you want. And that has also helped us as well. So we're just trying to work with our customers, however they feel comfortable, however we feel comfortable. I'm also a caretaker, so I have to be super careful about being in contact. So I'm actually working more from home and, you know, in the store like 2-3 days a week, which works for us as well. So it's been an interesting transition back. And one thing I will say is definitely prepare yourself, because the city had told us that we would be reopening at least 3 times before it actually happened.
Right.
And so we had a lot of false starts. So I'm glad to have been able to reopen and be ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been similar here in Los Angeles too. It's like, okay, we're open. Okay, never mind, we're closed. And I know that's really hard for business owners, so I totally understand that. But it's great to hear that foot traffic is up. So now we're going to move on to an often overlooked topic, which is cybersecurity. So even before COVID hit, small businesses were prime targets of costly cyber attacks. And in 2019, cyber attacks cost small businesses on average $200,000. So data breaches are on the rise. So Ginger, I'm going to throw it to you. A recent study from Mastercard of North American Small Business shows that 82% changed how they send or receive payments, with 51% transitioning to digital methods. So what are the biggest cyber threats small businesses are facing right now?
Yeah, Jaclyn, thanks a lot for the question. This is very near and dear to my heart. We know that, as I mentioned before, 50% of cyber attacks are happening on small business. To make it even more difficult, 80% of small businesses do not have protection against cyber, and 81% just want alerts. And small businesses are pretty susceptible to two types of cyber attacks. One is called ransomware, and this is essentially when a bad actor gets access to data from a small business and demands money. And part of that cost of the $200,000 can very often be the ransomware. The other one, which can also happen on the consumer side, is really email. And what happens is that victims of bad actors actually get their email accessed, and then erroneous emails are sent like, "We need money," and then really put a business owner in a very serious position from a fraud perspective. So I think that's really why we have built around our digital doors free access to two quick things: Risk Recon, which actually will go in and assess the vulnerabilities of a particular site. And then we have ID theft protection, which will monitor the dark web for the business URL, the business owner URL for their personal email. And it's very, very critical because then they get alerts. So really being very vigilant, looking at the emails before you click on attachments. But I do want to impress that, there's a misperception amongst small business that it's not going to happen to me, and more it is. So I think that's really important that people stay vigilant.
Definitely. It's funny because I feel like they're getting more sophisticated as well. Like, we've been getting emails that are from Jaclyn Johnson, but it's not my email. And, it'll say something like, "Can you run out and get me iTunes gift card?" And it's like a running joke in our office that I'm like, I never want an iTunes gift card. So don't ever click on that email. But, for the unsuspecting, or if you're moving really fast, I can totally see how you could click on that link and be in that situation. So how much of your budget is going towards cybersecurity?
Until Ginger came into my life, zero. I'm not kidding. The last time we had our Mastercard retreat, it opened up my eyes to things that, again, you're moving so fast, you're not thinking about it. And since then, we've had conversations as a team, but I'll be totally honest with you and say we have a lot of work to do there. It's hard to imagine that you'd be the one that this happens to, and then it happens, and then you're like, I should have listened to Ginger.
Yeah, that came a big thing for me recently. Oh Lord, going through diligence with a lot of institutional investors, that became a big question. They're like, okay, if you guys are basically managing millions of dollars, and these are these people's companies, and what if somebody gets access to this information? So I'm sitting there like a deer in headlights, and I'm like, okay, I remember this from the meeting.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
like, yes, Ginger
just pops
yes,
up
like
in the
Ginger
corner.
warned us
The little
about
angel
this.
on your shoulder.
So what we had to do as of recent was outsource different companies that had the cybersecurity in place, to where now we use Carta and different outsourced companies that they have all of these things in place. So our information is not stored with us anymore, because they're like, you're managing too much cash, and there's too many people.
Too much risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were like, I was like, oh gosh, help.
No, for sure. I mean, that makes tons of sense. And also, being able to put that risk on a different company, especially in the industry you're in, I mean, it just makes total sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
And Jaclyn, in terms of budget, our Risk Recon, right now it's free on digital doors, but even when there's going to be a cost to it, we're talking maybe $8 to $11 a month.
Oh, wow.
When you think about, when you think about 200,000 could be the bill if you have a cyber attack, it's going to be very affordable.
yeah, I mean, the word ransomware, I'm terrified. Please don't.
It sounds like a heist.
It sounds like a heist. It's crazy. Okay, so now let's talk about leading a team virtually. With working from home evolving into a long-term norm, we'll continue to rely on Zoom, Slack, and other tools to stay connected with our teams for the foreseeable future. So Michelle, I'm gonna throw this to you, but how have you approached leadership from afar, and what advice can you share for staying connected when you need to pivot quickly?
So I am pretty old school, I guess. My partners and I, we use WhatsApp. We have our WhatsApp business chat, and we, anytime there's something going on, even when we were taping earlier, one of my partners called me on WhatsApp video. He's in the store, and he's like, this customer is coming in for this, and we're in real time here. So it's not even like I'm missing a beat. I feel like they're almost here with me every time. So it works. It definitely works. And because it's just a small team for the three of us, We don't need to have Zoom calls. We really just utilize the WhatsApp for now. But I expect as we continue to grow for the holiday season, I definitely will be tapping in and making sure that everyone is fully aware of what needs to be done.
Absolutely. And I know for our team, Slack, Asana, Zoom, we're on all the channels. And I honestly don't even remember a time before Slack. Deepica, what tools are you guys using?
All the above that you just said, plus Trello. But I think for the way that I'm trying to not get, zoomed out because there's just so much happening, is really trying to remember that there's humans behind the people in this company, and it's tough because you're the boss and you got to make sure everyone's doing their job. But I found that during this time, the most important thing is to be more human and just talk to your employees as like, it's not always about business, because I want them to get through this feeling just as passionate about working for this company. And it's really hard when every single day everyone's going through their own emotional sort of journey with everything. So I don't know, little things we do, like we have every Monday state of the business meetings where we all are together. Instead of we used to do roses and thorns, and it was really much focused on business roses and business thorns, and now we just started with like, how are you personally doing on a roses and thorns level, just to like level set the company and have this sort of positive energy, because most of the time I wake up not with the most positive energy. And so what can we do as business leaders in our company to make sure that the team feels supported and sort of just seen beyond the doors of the company? And listen, this is a fine line, because at the same time we are running a business, but I haven't had anyone take advantage of it so far. But I think the human aspect of running a business is important during this time.
That is beautiful. And I think at this time, like you said, it's so important, because if you don't address these issues that are happening to people personally, they're going to fall over to their professional life.
Yeah.
So we have to address the fact that we're in a pandemic. And myself, even as a Black woman, I have to address the fact that we're dealing with all these different social injustices.
Yeah.
So one thing I can say, of course, everybody is Zoomed out. And yes, we have our marketing team is on Slack and the operational team is on Trello.
Yeah.
Just what comes with the nature of doing business. But we have actually met up. At one point, completely socially distanced. And I've even recently wrote out a list of activities. I said, you know what? We're going to celebrate our wins somehow for those who were in Atlanta on the team, socially distant.
Yes, I love it.
Whether it's my backyard and I cook for everybody and we do a big like movie night in the backyard type thing where we can be socially distant, but trying to figure that out in the midst of this COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you post about the boat and watching the show? Was that okay? I couldn't remember it. I literally saved it.
Okay. I'm a big football watcher.
Okay.
Like, I love sports. I'm a hardcore football watcher. And one of my girlfriends and her husband, they have a boat. And I'm like, great. And they haven't been out anywhere during COVID. So like, and you can't come anywhere near us. I'm like, that's fine. They're like, but do come down to the boat. The boat is big enough. And we are watching the football game, Sunday football game, on a huge screen.
And there was
all these boats out here. It was almost like if you had the drive-in movie theater, but it was with boats. And we're watching a football game. So I even posted on social like a long list of activities people can still do to feel connected in this moment.
It was super cute. I saved it. I was like, save for future event inspiration. I love it. Yeah, no, that's great. And I know it's different in every city, and some cities are definitely far more open than other cities. So, I personally am excited to get the team back and be able to, be in the same office, whether it's socially distanced or half the team or whatever it might be. I think everyone, it's funny because we went from everyone wanting to work from home all the time to everyone being like, can we go back to the office?
Yeah.
So, I think it's just an interesting transition and balance. So, Michelle, I want to throw this to you, and Ginger, feel free to chime in, but like, how are you maintaining, the positivity in such a dark time for small businesses? Like, how are you keeping your team motivated? And what are some of the things that, you're doing to keep everyone on the same page?
So for me, I will say I was working 3 years straight in management and growing my business, growing this shop, and growing my personal brand. Yes, I Am Clothing. So this 6 months off has actually been a blessing, because we've been able to, my partners and I have been able to like sit back and just breathe and really assess what's important. I'm spending more time with family. I'm actually having a personal life. Things that I was not having before, right? I know, exactly. Like I'm going to dinner on Friday nights, so I really think that it's important that we just understand that this is a part of life, and we really have to just focus on what matters. All the little things that you worry about and fuss about at work it's just not important when you think about the gravity of the situation and the amount of lives lost. So we try to stay on the, you know, appreciative appreciative beat, and just like, you know, thinking about abundance and hoping that we can continue to grow, and seeing all of the things that have happened throughout the process. Even though we were closed, all the connections that we've made and opportunities that we've had, you know, I can't complain at all. So I just say to my partners, you know, we're blessed, we're getting a second chance to start over from, not from scratch, but with all the knowledge that we have. And now we've gotten a break to reset and really push ourselves to our goals. So I think that, you know, we all understand that we're in a very blessed place, and we just pray that we can continue to stay safe and well.
Yeah, and
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ginger.
yeah, Jaclyn, no, I think, you know, we wake up every day in my business and just focus on small business. That's all we do. And we get a chance to deliver tools and solutions through our partnerships that can actually help. So, for example, with my team, sometimes it gets really tough. You know, you go to bed at night and you look up at the ceiling and you think, gosh, I've worked all day, but what have I really done? So I think making sure that they understand their impact on what's being done, their impact on digital doors, you know, even with our broader team, like the work we do with you, Jaclyn, that is so amazing how we can touch small businesses in a way that we couldn't before. So I think it's really important to take a look at those wins, the little wins, the big wins, and let people know that they're a part of it. That at the end of the day, if they've helped even 100 more businesses, we have some of our team members that help a lot with the webinars we do. We just did an amazing webinar with the City of New York and their small business commissioner, and really focused on Black entrepreneurs. So we get a chance to touch stuff every day, and that's what we get people focused on and remembering their impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been interesting for us too. You know, when we started Create and Cultivate, it's always, you know, the mission has always been to empower women to create and cultivate the career of their dreams. And we've been doing that during an up period where women were on the cover of magazines, women are running massive companies, raising hundreds of millions of dollars. And now we're doing it during a period that's a little bit more difficult for women. You know, I think, you know, female-owned small businesses are one of the #1 most affected businesses because we get the least amount of funding. And, you know, as we all know, cash flow is what's so important during these times, and being able to float your business. So, you know, our mission hasn't changed, but it has changed the way that we're operating it. You know, when we first started in the pandemic and everyone was talking about the, you know, PPP loan or a small business loan, we were going through the same thing our audience was going through. So we just took them along on the journey for us, and really were saying, like, here's what we know, here's what we're doing, here's how you can figure it out. So it's been a real, you know, kind of wake-up call and a real reinvigorating time for our mission, because, you know, we don't want to see women leaving the workforce. You know, there were some stats that came out, I think last week. It was like a staggering number of women are leaving the workforce because of the childcare issue, because of the fact that they don't have the cash flow to keep running their businesses or hiring other women. So, you know, we're really, you know, laser focused on working on those type of things. So let's talk a little bit about the future of work and what that looks like. So obviously, you know, we found that 86% of remote employees said they were satisfied working from home, and only 1 in 5 said they'd want to go back to the office. So is that something that you're looking into, Deepica? Is it, yeah, you're like,
Yeah, no, we actually closed down our office because it was an overhead expense that we didn't want to take on. And you know, the coolest part about this new world of, like, do we need a physical office space, is the hiring potential that comes with the fact that this person does not need to be based in the city that my HQ is, because the HQ is wherever the talent is. And so we've actually just hired somebody as our first senior hire that's in New York. And I feel like if the requirement was to be in Los Angeles, I don't think she would have done it. And so I get excited about it. I actually think it's the future, and it's changing the way we all think about business and the workplace and how to build culture. And to me, that's like a challenge I'm ready for. I'm excited.
There's definitely that flexibility there. I personally have always done a mix of working virtually since like 2000, I would say 6.
Wow.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed just working from my home for a great duration. Don't get me wrong, the team was in the office, but I've always enjoyed that flexibility for myself. I like to cook all my meals almost. And I'm very creative in that space. And then I love to have the option to retreat to the office too. Now, what I can say that we have made a move to in this season is what a lot of people were doing prior to COVID, which was the co-working spaces.
Yeah.
You're going to see a rise in that due to all of this. So we just went on to a membership at the Gathering Spot in Atlanta. And I'm like, hey, we can do this because anytime we want to just come and have that flex space in the conference rooms and everything else that comes with it, let's just do this way and therefore not have the overhead of the whole big office. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I know co-working spaces were something that were hit really hard, but coming back in, since everyone seemingly gave up their office leases, that might see an influx as well. So,
and I think what you just said about, did you just say 60% of people are happy working from home?
86%.
86%. Like, don't you think that your employee happiness should be what matters? And if more people are happy and the productivity isn't shifting, why wouldn't you save that overhead cost and find, it is important to maintain culture, so you have to find creative ways to do that. But there's retreats, all the money you're saving from that overhead of an office, put it towards a retreat and have those moments. But I think it allows, and it goes back to the thing with the women and having families and having children, it allows for that flexibility to hopefully not, bring those numbers back up.
Yeah, I think to your point though, is the productivity staying there.
Yeah.
And I think what COVID has done is forced us to figure that out. And I know like for our team, we've been working remote, since basically March, and we've gotten in a rhythm. We've kind of figured it out so that moving forward into the future, the work from home doesn't feel as scary if someone's not there, that we know how to work now. It's weird when someone just calls you normally and not on a video call. Like I don't even know what to do anymore. Like it's completely changed the behavior. So it's really interesting. So Ginger, do you think small businesses with more flexible remote working policies will be more appealing to prospective employees post-pandemic?
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point, Jaclyn. I think with small businesses, the challenge is one of their top issues is they don't have a lot of resources. So they have usually much fewer number of employees. They have a lot less time. And so they have really learned to leverage working from home. They had to very quickly figure that out. And for a lot of them, it wasn't even a choice because for many of them, their storefronts were closed. So I do think, I think it was Deepica said, I do think that this opens up the opportunity to leverage talent from other places. And because small businesses don't necessarily have all the resources to do that, it really allows them to leverage whether it's contractors, part-time employees, people that they wouldn't necessarily have to bring on full-time. And these people might not be in the location where they are. So I think that this has afforded small businesses the opportunity, but also the need to leverage that and also keep in contact with their teams because they are so close-knit, to your point. It's really important that that closeness be maintained and the connectivity.
Absolutely. So lots of challenges, but lots of changes. Thank you guys so much for this amazing Priceless conversation. I feel like I've learned so much. You guys are amazing. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sonia. I am super excited to be here for episode 1. I am going to talk all about email marketing. I am a nerd about email marketing, and hopefully I will turn all of you into nerds as well. An email address is worth gold, in my opinion. There are no algorithms that stop emails from going into inboxes, etc. So for me, I'm a big fan of email marketing. I, in fact, work a lot with Constant Contact, who is a partner of mine, and they're great. So I really am a nerd about email marketing. So I wanted to give you a couple tips, but first, I wanted to actually mention that Mastercard has an amazing program right now. They launched out of COVID. It's the Mastercard Digital Doors program. They've created a resource hub on their website. And so you can just Google Mastercard Digital Doors. It's a hub to help you get online. right? You can build your website. You can find ways to keep your website and your e-commerce platform secure. There's a lot of great information from them. So if you are just starting out, I recommend Googling and going to visit the Mastercard Digital Doors Hub. But now let's get into the nitty gritty. So one of the things that everyone, when they're just starting out, kind of has problems with is they're like, well, I have 14 email addresses. That seems pathetic. What do I do with 14 email addresses? Listen, one email address is better than none. So everyone starts small. Everyone starts here, and you slowly build your list. So one of the things that I want to talk to you about today is building your list. It's actually much easier than you think. So you have to think about it this way. Where are you and where are your customers? Everywhere that you are online, digitally, you want to be talking about your email list and the fact that you have an email program. So if you're on social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, you should be regularly talking about the fact that you have a list, and you should be getting people to subscribe. So for instance, on Instagram, if you have a link that goes to a bunch of different links, you should 100% have a call to action, a link to subscribe to my email. The best way to get people to subscribe is usually something of value. So you want to either provide a discount or provide something of value, right? Like a digital download, free wallpaper, a free ebook, a free patterns, free wallpapers, backgrounds for your phones. You want to give something of value, and that will help you really cultivate that list faster than if you just are not doing anything. So you want to talk about it on social media, provide that link. The other thing people forget to do is on Instagram and Facebook, maybe once or twice a month, do a post that specifically is talking about your email list. Let people know that you have an email list, right? You're getting new subscribers and new followers all the time. So you have to remember that you continually have to talk about things. You know you have an email list, but your new followers don't. So post about your email list, and that will help you gain subscribers as well. When it comes to your website, yes, a pop-up is great, and it greatly increases the chance that you're going to get subscribers. Again, it has to be about value. It's not just, please subscribe to my email list. It's 2020. People are not that naive. You want to offer them value. Tell them what you are sending them. Are you going to be telling your story? Are you going to be doing behind the scenes videos of how you actually make a product? Actually, that's a great idea, by the way. You should do some behind the scenes videos of how you actually make what you sell or what it is that you do. So you can use a pop-up on your website. You can also use the announcement bar, which is a great way to get subscribers. You can also talk about your email list with your buyers, your actual customers. So when they purchase something from you on your website, you are probably going to do, hopefully, a drip campaign. You know, they're going to get the thank you message. They're probably going to get the shipping message. Well, in that thank you message, you need to say thanks, show your gratitude, and then bring them in to your world, tell them a bit more about you and your story, and then say, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, and sign up for my email list where I give discounts, where I tell more about my story, et cetera, et cetera. So again, every place that you are and that you think your customers are, you need to be talking about your email list. That is how you will gain subscribers and how you will actually build that email list from scratch. Now, I'm going to give you a couple more tips. One of the things is a lot of questions that I get are like, how do I even create an email? I'm super intimidated. I don't like writing. Don't worry, neither does anyone else. We all put sending email newsletters off, but it should not be something that is intimidating because it has proven impact. You will greatly increase your sales and retain customers when you use email marketing. So One thing that you should keep in mind is a very simple rule. It's easy to remember. It's KISS, KISS, which is keep it simple, stupid. We tend to get into our own heads as entrepreneurs. We're doing 1,000 things. Remember, this doesn't need to be a novel. You don't need to kill yourself over trying to design some fantastic email. You just need to be consistent. So keep it simple. Create a format and a template that will be easy for you to actually achieve once a month, twice a month, maybe even once a week. So if you're not great at writing and you don't want to write a lot, great. Keep it to 3 chunks, 3 graphic designs that throw people off to 3 things, right? Figure out what is going to be achievable for you to send those emails, and then do that. Another great piece of advice that I have for the actual emails is you don't want to have a lot of writing. So there's a number of different reasons for that. People, their attention spans are short. They don't like to read a lot. The second thing is you have to remember that people are not just getting your email on the computer. Are you going to be able to see my phone? Oh my gosh, it's not. There we go. A lot of people are going to open and read your email on their phone. And if you can imagine, if you write more than 1 paragraph, it suddenly becomes a long, scrolling, lots of type email. A lot of people are going to abandon right away. So think about that. You need to think about how your email looks on both a computer, a desktop, a laptop, an iPad, but also very specifically a phone, which is thin, very different from a horizontal screen, and it's vertical. So that's another great hot tip that I have. You need to be actually looking at what your emails look like on all platforms. And then the third piece of advice that I have for you that's very, very simple is that people like visuals. So great photography, great graphic design. If you think about it, since we were drawing on the inside of caves, we've always used visual cues to tell stories. So it's no wonder Pinterest and Instagram are so popular. They're all visual based, right? So again, with your newsletters, I think the thing that works really well is beautiful, great photography, graphic design, keep it very short and sweet when it comes to writing. And you will see that people will really respond to that. If you have an email that has 10, 15 different links off of it, that's doing you a disservice. You need to think about every email that you send. What are the few things that I want people to click on? You need to tunnel them in, right? Tunnel vision. So if you've launched a new product, keep talking about that. Keep linking off to that one product. The goal with this email, with your emails, are to get people to actually click the email links. So don't send an email that has a gazillion links talking about this, that, the other thing. Oh yeah, and this. Oh, and there's a sale. Too much. It's better to remember that rule. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. It's better to talk about 1 or 2 things per email, and that will also help your engagement rate. So the number of people who are not just opening the email, but then clicking. Because when you tell people in a subject line and in an email very clearly what it is that you are talking about and giving them, again, it comes back to value, they will respond to that and they'll be thankful, grateful, and they'll click off. So those are my tips for you. The only other thing that I would say when it comes to email marketing is yes, the idea is to sell. The idea is to get people to click from that email to your website, support you, buy from you. But there is a fine line between always sending emails that are just selling, and not taking a moment to also think about what's going on in the world and being a real, authentic human being behind the brand. So if you don't have to always sell, I guess is what I'm saying. like I mentioned before, sending an email that shows a time-lapse video of you actually crafting what it is that you make would be great. Bring people into your world and tell your story. Don't just always sell. And then the last thing I would say is, who are the brands and the people that you love and admire? Sign up for their emails and learn from them. I think it's important to take cues from the big companies and the big corporations. Honestly, one of the emails that I love is the Goop email. I also really love the Madewell and the J. Crew emails. I like to see what they're doing visually, what they're doing content-wise. Really, in all honesty, because they're paying a whole department to figure that out. And as entrepreneurs, it's just us. So I say, take your cues from people who are doing great work, follow the brands that you like on email and see what they're doing and get inspired by that. But good luck. It's not an easy task to start a business and to grow an email list, but once you start, you will absolutely see great results from it. And so keep with it and stay strong.
Now, before we wrap up today's conversations, we're going to answer some questions from the audience. Question number 1, what channels of communication do you find most helpful in building meaningful customer relationships outside of in-person or in-store? Is it email? Is it social? Is it podcasts? What are you guys looking at?
Well, first, I would definitely say that email is so important to your business. This is your tool you're going to use to cultivate your existing customers. That's the thing. It's not like you have new customers on there because you don't have their data yet. So for just fostering those relationships and nurturing those, your email is going to be very important. When you're speaking to a broader audience and bringing more people in, your social media is going to be what comes into play, your podcast, or even right now, people are holding different virtual events. And all of those things play a role in you being able to have an active audience.
Yeah, 100%. So I think what you were saying earlier also is that to really look at your data and see where your customer is and really zoom in and focus there. So for me, social media, we give 80% and then we do 20% towards other channels, just because I think it is important to test and see where else you could have potential, ways to acquire new customers, but really giving 80% towards where they are. And for us, it's social.
And for us, obviously, offline events was our bread and butter at Create and Cultivate. So we pivoted very quickly to virtual events and have seen amazing success with over 10,000 women tuning in from 50 different countries. So for us, it's opened up an entirely new database of customers that we weren't really servicing beforehand. So definitely get online, definitely connect with your consumers, and you might be surprised to find how wide your audience actually is. So let's move on to our second question. How can I grow my online presence in CRM strategies to ensure my business is top of mind in the new normal?
Oh my gosh, this is going to take some creativity. I think that's an awesome question. And the reason why I say that is because right now online content is very noisy. Everybody is out there speaking. So I would definitely say just hone in with your team to figure out what are those unique value adds that you guys can offer that nobody else isn't offering. That's what I would just say, to figure out what that is.
Retweet that. And also I would say video is king. So if you are going to take a bet, I would personally put my dollars and efforts towards more video content and scale back on photos. Just, of course, both are important, but video.
Co-sign on that. I would also say do something totally different that no one else is doing. Don't look at what is being successful for other people because everyone else is doing that. So think of something completely unique and outside the box. Okay, let's go to our third and final question. How are you cultivating new business in a time of saturation online? How do you break through the noise and stand out to drive revenue?
Oh my gosh, I feel like we were just touching on that. You are going to have to hone in to figure out where your creativity lies. Just, I would say, as some suggestions, don't get so caught up in what your competitors are doing, but you still want to be sensitive to what's happening in your industry. But you are going to have to figure out that unique value add. Whether it's you guys have never had a podcast before, but now you're introducing a podcast. You've never done a virtual event before, but now it's something you're actually introducing. You're going to have to figure out what that is. And it may be that you figure out something that's COVID friendly and socially distance safe in this environment that you can actually have face-to-face interaction that nobody else is doing.
So for Live Tinted, I would say that we're less focused on finding and acquiring new customers and really how to nurture our existing customers. And that's something that honestly, if COVID didn't happen, I don't know how much I would have taken the time and effort to zoom in on that. And it's been really interesting. So I think, how can you grow your existing customer base's cart size to go from, whatever it is to 2-3x that, and really understand that customer base, because I think they're your loyalists and they matter the most. I think in the small business world, that's really important.
I totally agree, and I think don't get hung up on your follower count. I think it's more important to think about your customers. Who are those people that buy from you consistently and often, and how can you service them better? Because I think everyone right now is trying to get to the hundreds of thousands of followers, and there's this manic rush to do that, but it doesn't necessarily equate to dollars. So think about dollars and cents before you get hung up on your follower count. Thank you everyone for watching this episode of Priceless Conversations presented by Mastercard. Be sure to join us next week for the second episode in our 4-part series. We'll be discussing social media marketing and branding, and trust me, you do not want to miss it. If you want to rewatch any of these episodes, head to Create and Cultivate's YouTube channel and be sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any of the thoughtful conversations in this series. If you want to learn more about how Mastercard can help your small business, please visit mastercard.com to learn more about their Digital Doors program. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.